I'm here today with Drake Hurd. Drake is actually one of the young guns on the National Walleye Tour tournament circuit. He's one of the younger guys who've been really doing well here the last few years, but kind of another unique take on Drake. He's been in the fishing industry his whole life. He manufactures a lot of different lures for various companies, and he's the president and owner of Renegade Outdoor Innovations, which is a custom coloring company. He basically custom colors, puts colors on crankbaits and soft plastics. Soft plastics is a pretty unique thing. You don't see it in the industry hardly at all.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, Gary, grew up in the Alexandria, Minnesota area here, so I've always wanted to get you over here and get you fishing on some of these, deep, clear lakes that we're going to attend. We're going to kind of sample a few different ones and see what we can show you in the fall bite over here.
Great. It's mid to late October. It's been cold. We don't know really what's going to happen. So why don't you come along and you too can get your next bite.
Just looking for the next bite, next bite, next bite. Just looking for the next bite.
And I tell you what, the monsters are in here. This is a popular fishing area with all these lakes around here. That's so awesome.
The Alexandria area lakes of Minnesota aren't just a collection of smaller, closely located lakes, but rather a cohesive body of water-laden communities focused on fishing, fun, and keeping the spirit of adventurous lake life alive. As far as fish with teeth, apex predators such as a muskellunge and schools of roaming walleyes are abundant and thriving in all of these easily accessible area lakes.
It's your lucky day. Normally you would be in a sandwich, but today you get to swim free.
This paradisal combination is why professional tournament angler Gary Parsons and fellow industry professional, custom lure painter, and tournament angler Drake Hurd are eager to get exploring the Alexandria area's post-turnover fall conditions.
All right, guys, we're out here fishing walleyes post-turnover. The water temps are dropping, they're in the mid-40s. What I look for on a lot of the lakes in my area is steep break lines. You want to find those break lines that are the steepest ones in the lake. In this particular case, our break lines are 20 to 35 feet, real steep breaks. And what we're doing is we're just going along with our trolling motor real slow and working up and down the break line with these jigs. A lot of the times it's difficult to mark these fish because the breaks are so steep, so go along nice and slow and work those jigs right in front of those walleyes to get them to eat. I got a fish.
Oh, nice.
Yep, got him.
My rod's right here hanging, Drake.
Yep.
Nice. I'll net your big ones all day long.
I don't think this one's...
My rod's out the back, so
okay, I think
outside.
Let's go like that. Yep. Good idea. I don't...
Oh, there he is.
Oh,
there he is.
There he is. Oh, got him.
Nice.
Right. Another beauty.
Nice job, Drake.
Let's get him unhooked. God, we've just been sliding up and down this break line.
Yeah.
They seem to be hanging here.
Yeah, sometimes we catch a few up right on the edge of the weeds and sometimes down pretty far, but
it seems to be working. You don't always just find them all the way along. It seems like they're grouped up here and there, and then we get those bites.
yeah,
we get them
kind of hang out. If you mark 2 or 3 fish, we just stay in that area for a little while and then move on searching for more. That's cool.
Let's go do it again, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
The next bite is brought to you by Mercury Marine. Go boldly. Tracker boats. Fish the finest. Bass Pro Shops and Cabelas. Your adventure starts here. Berkley. Catch more fish. And Motorguide. Accuracy matters. Closed captioning for the next bite is provided by Power Pole, the ultimate in shallow water anchors.
I want to just take a moment to explain some terminology that you hear often thrown around by anglers, and that's fall turnover, and that determines on how you approach the lake. And so we're going to take you back into the summer months to set the precedence here. In the summer, the sun beats down on the surface of the water and it warms the surface layer of the water. And in many cases, the water temperatures in the lake will actually layer. Fall turnover is actually a reversal of that process. As the water temperatures in the fall start to get colder, the surface layers of the lake get colder. So there's a point in time as the surface layers of the water in the lakes cool down enough that they'll start to sink. And actually the lake water will start to roll over. And you'll be able to tell when a lake is going through turnover because there'll be a lot of, looks like bottom debris or leaves and things that are on the bottom that are kind of mixed into the water itself. That period of time might take a couple days, and usually the fishing is terrible. After that, though, the lake is much more even temperatured all the way through. Oxygen is mixed well. That's the time of year that a lot of the species of fish that we go after, walleyes, muskies, etc., they'll go deep. And that's because that water temperature is fully oxygenated and it's comfortable for the fish and it's comfortable for the bait fish. Kind of a long explanation, but now you understand when you go to a different lake, you know, you have to kind of evaluate what those water temperatures are and try to determine if the lake's in turnover or if it's post turnover. Oh, I didn't get a very good hook set in him, Jake.
I'll get the net.
Yeah, he doesn't feel real big. Another one that's not giant. He's okay.
Yep. It's a decent one, Gary. Oh, yeah.
Ready? Got him! Oh, now that was a stretch! Oh, man.
Can't complain one bit on what you do.
Yeah, he throttled it actually on the drop.
Yeah.
But I was in a bad position with my rod, so I didn't think I had a very good hook set.
Right.
So I had to reel hard fast to get into him. Yeah, it's a pretty nice fish.
Absolutely. It's putting on a little weight there too.
Yeah. You know, this is a popular fishing area with all these lakes around here,
yeah,
but still some really quality fish in them.
That's true.
Awesome.
We've got a lot of small lakes that have a lot of nice fish. Can't complain one bit.
Yeah, very cool. Well, good. Let's get him back in.
Yep.
All right, buddy. Oh, he wants to go.
Gone.
Yeah. So we're using the precision trolling app.
The Real Deal brought to you by Precision Trolling Data, giving anglers the real deal on crankbait diving depth information.
Not all trolling motors are created equal, and the one thing you've heard over the past few years is how good the GPS was in the XI5 Motorguide trolling motor. This is actually the XI3. It looks very similar, but this is going to be the motor that you want to use for the smaller fishing packages, for your 12 volt and 24 volt systems. Basically what you have is you have everything a little bit smaller, a little bit lighter. The stow and deploy here is extremely easy. It's a very light motor. You can do it with one hand, no problem, so there's no issues there even in rough water. The second thing that you're going to maintain from that XI5 is everything's wireless. It's going to come standard with the key fob where you can run that XI3 from anywhere in the boat. You can actually have that option of getting the wireless foot pedal as well. The last thing that I really want to mention is that GPS in the XI3 is the same as the XI5. So you're going to have the most precise anchor mode on the market. You're going to be able to use the heading lock and trolling applications. But the one thing that we do know is that that XI3 GPS is going to keep you exactly where you need to be to catch you more fish.
With the longer shank on these stand-up style jigs, Gary and Drake are simply hooking their live bait through the mouth and out the backs of the head.
Oh, I got one.
This allows walleyes to suck the bait up off the bottom more easily, which this time of year is where they are more often found.
He sucked this one right up off the bottom. Because I never felt the bite.
Nothing, and he was just there.
They love to do that, especially with this jig, because it sits up so much.
Right.
Like that.
Yep. That minnow's right up like that, and they just suck it right up.
suck that right up and get them right in their mouth.
However, one of the unique aspects of the jig head they are using is that it features a cupping on the bottom. This contributes to the jig moving more erratically through the water as it is retrieved, instead of tracking straight like a regular jig.
There we go, Gary.
How's he looking?
Feels like a good one.
Oh yeah, I
Better get the net. Better get the net on this one. I'm sneaky.
You are sneaky. Ooh, I brought my little net. Oh! That's what happens when you forget to put your big net in the boat.
Yeah.
Wow, you can see them way deep here.
It's crazy with this clear water.
Man, that is a good fish.
This doesn't want to quite.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that toad.
That is a big fish. Buddy.
Zero complaints there. Oh, right in the corner of the mouth there.
Got him on the spin.
How about that?
Look how fat he is.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Good chunker, good healthy walleye.
Yeah.
Can't complain one bit.
Wow, that is a gorgeous fish.
Get her back and get some more?
Oh, yeah. Whoa. Got it there. No problems with him swimming away. I want to take just a moment and go through the equipment for this setup. I like to use a 6.3 Walleye Angler Series Bass Pro Rod coupled with a light reel. That's kind of my favorite setup. We have two different line setups, and I do want to spend a moment on that. Drake is using Berkley Trilene 100% fluorocarbon on his reel. He uses no leader at all, and he's using 6-pound test. Now the reason for that is fluorocarbon is basically invisible to the fish. It has a limited amount of stretch, so you still maintain a lot of feel with this setup. On the other hand, when I jig fish, I like super lines. I'm using Berkley Ultra 8 here in a 6-pound test, and the reason I like super lines is because there's no stretch. I have the utmost in feel when I'm using a line like this. Unfortunately, they're colored, and so, you know, maybe it's superstition, maybe it's reality, but I think that there's a chance that the walleyes can see the line. So in that situation, I'm going to want to basically use a leader, and we've talked about using leaders in clear water before. Here's the difference. In most scenarios where the water's not super clear and where I'm not fishing super deep, I want to use 10-pound test on my main line and then probably a 10-pound leader. In this situation, we're really downsizing, and we're using a 6-pound main line and then a 6-pound fluorocarbon leader. Just like what Drake's using on his main line, I use the same line for my leader material. Now, the problem is if I tie the leader directly to the line like I do when I'm using 10-pound test, that creates a real weak spot. A 30-inch walleye, a 10-pound walleye, I could break that knot on the hook set. I can't do it on 10-pound test. I can with 6. So I don't want to take that chance. So what I'll use is a little barrel swivel, and it's about a size 14 or so, and tie one end to the line, to your main line, and the other end to your fluorocarbon leader. About a 4-foot section before you tie your jig on. By doing this, you've kind of eliminated that weak spot. This is a pretty strong junction here. And that's the slight modification when you're trying to use this for fall fishing and this jigging setup. You're gonna get a lot more fish, and you won't break that fish off of a lifetime.
The next bite is brought to you by Mercury Marine. Go boldly. Tracker Boats. Fish the finest. Bass Pro Shops and Cabelas. Your adventure starts here. Berkley. Catch more fish. Lowrance. Find, navigate, dominate. Motorguide. Accuracy matters. And Power Pole. Swift, silent, secure. analytics, leading information in tackle and techniques to make you a better angler. Presented by Mercury.
One of the most exciting places to catch a walleye is up shallow. The fish are typically more aggressive, they bite hard, they fight hard, and so it's just a lot of fun. And one of the best ways to catch them up shallow is with a crankbait. So what we did with Berkley is designed a new crankbait called the Shallow Flicker Shad to do just that, fish up shallow. Now the Shallow Flicker Shad comes in two different sizes. It comes in a smaller number 5 and then a little bit larger number 7. The number 7 was designed to have an action very similar to the regular 7 Flicker Shad. Got a great top to bottom roll. It's got a good rattle system in it. It's going to catch a lot of fish, especially the little bit more aggressive ones. Now if the fish are in a little bit of an off mood, you got a cold front or whatever coming in and you need a little bit more subtle action, that's where the number 5 comes in. A little bit smaller bait and just not quite as much roll to it, but still a really good rattle in it to attract in those fish. Now those rattles also do another thing. Even though these baits are fairly small, they cast like a dream. The weights and rattles transfer in here so that you get good casting distance and cover a lot of water. If you're casting, obviously what you want to do is look at your depth and see how deep you got to go. If you got to go down, say to 3, 4, 5 feet, then I would say a 7 is a better choice. Typically when they're up shallow, they're very close to the bottom, so you want to get down close there. If you're up shallower than say 3 feet, then obviously the number 5 is going to be a better choice for you. Now if you're out trolling, there again you want to get the baits down close to the bottom, but the bottom only might be 4 or 5 foot deep. Then you want to actually use the Precision Trolling app and look up and see how deep the baits go. So for example, that number 5 Shallow Flicker Shad, it'll go down to 8 foot deep with 90 foot of 10-pound out. If you go to the bigger number 7, the max depth it'll hit with 10-pound is 11 foot deep. Now, that sounds pretty deep. You said, I'll catch the fish up shallow. Remember though that you can let out less line, maybe put it out on a board or whatever, and actually fish up shallower with these bait. I've fished them even in 2 or 3 feet of water. So we've been testing the Shallow Flicker Shad for a couple years now. I've caught tons of walleyes on it. It's now out there ready for you to catch a walleyes and catch those walleyes up shallow.
The purpose of Gary and Drake in choosing an area of lakes like Alexandria, Minnesota, is not just for their beauty and convenience.
Got him, GB?
Yep, I got him.
It's to provide beta on how this post-turnover fall walleye fishing, as a template, can be usable for most any smaller northern bodies of water. With the fish already preferring the deeper water off structure, thanks to its currently richer oxygen levels when in clearer water. It's a balance between feel and camouflaging your lines, but finalized with a couple different cadences.
There you go. Yeah!
All right.
Nice.
Beautiful fish. Look at that jig right in the top of the mouth.
Yeah? That was a good solid bite. I mean, I lifted and I held it for a second and he bit when I was off the bottom, so.
It's always a good sign.
Yeah.
Right in the top of the mouth again. Okay, while you're out here working these jigs on the break line like we are today, there's a few different ways that you can work your jig. Depending on the fish for the day, if they're aggressive fish and they're really feeding, we like to snap it a lot harder. You can snap it good 2, 3 pulls and then let it rest on the bottom. A lot of times you'll either get them when it's going away or resting on the bottom, you'll get those fish to bite. The other thing or technique that you can do is this real slow pull. And what that'll do is you'll just pull it up off the bottom and set it back down. A lot of times if those fish are debating or lethargic, you let them look at it long enough, they'll suck it up and you can get those bites. Oh, there's a bite. There's a bite.
You got a bite?
Yep.
Got him?
Yep.
Looks like a good one, Drake.
Yep.
I will quick reel my minnow in.
I'm gonna put the old back reel on.
See, you were going to spin around
I
there.
know. Good thing you said the waypoint's another 20 yards.
You got to go by the waypoint. We missed that other big one. You probably have them on right now.
Let's hope he has a jig in his mouth.
Well, that looks like a good one, Drake. You must have kicked it in anchor right away?
Yeah, I got it in anchor.
Good. He's a good fish, Drake.
Got him?
Yes, I do. Oh, is that a big one?
Hold on me here.
That's a large belly.
Can't complain one bit about that one.
Wow.
The jig is gone.
It is.
Oh, let's get this jig out of here.
That is a gorgeous one.
Unbelievable. Look at that fatty.
Yeah,
Beautiful fall fish.
that's what you call a large belly.
Yeah, can't complain. Let's go get some more, huh?
Oh yeah, no doubt. There she goes.
There she goes. These jigs, and hopefully it'll help. I didn't know how it was going to end. So it's not just tracking the whole time. God, not tracking true the whole time. So one of the things, God,
Get more fish, and you won't break that fish off of a lifetime. And now I've got to go net a fish for Drake because he's got another one.
right, and a lot of times it'll trigger those walleyes. So I think, oh, so why would I say that?
Different lake. Let's try a different.
Eat it.
Yep. Eat it. Eat it. He's up there looking. Eat it.
Yeah, buddy. Jason Hammerneck, these are pieces of cake. Walleye? No. I'm not even netting that thing.
Good.
Oh, then I missed.
Swing and a miss. You young guys. What can I say?
The NextBite.tv features seasonal articles, videos, and even full episodes. For everything related to The Next Bite, check us out online or on Facebook at The Next Bite TV.